Welcome students for online classes. Today we'll start on with a new chapter, that is chapter 9, tertiary sector, which is also known as the service sector. Okay, in this session we'll study about the importance of service sector and the interdependence among the sectors, that is the primary sector and the secondary sector with the service sector. Okay, so the meaning of service sector or the tertiary sector is: service sector covers a wide range of services such as trading, storage, insurance, transportation, communication, finance, real estate, and various types of professional services. So basically what tertiary sector tells is that it gives or it helps to the all the other sectors, that is to the primary and the secondary. And tertiary sector is also known as the backbone of socio-economic development. Now we have studied that agriculture is the backbone of the whole nation. So in the same way, tertiary sector is the backbone of socio-economic development, that is the social relations and even the economic and political relations to develop or to grow all the necessary things. What happens, tertiary sector is very much necessary. So what happens in tertiary sector? The tertiary sector gives help or it serves to the other sectors, maybe with the help of finance or maybe with the help of transportation or any kinds of services it gives to the other sectors. So there is a segregation of the sectors among the service based upon. So under the productive service, it is based upon the trading, transportation, communication, financial, and banking. So what is productive thing? Production, producing anything. In the production process, which and all thing comes? Maybe trading, that is buying and selling of goods. The transportation, that is selling the goods from one place to another, or the movement of goods. And the communication is a marketing strategy which is helpful for the marketers in the way how the products to be sold in the market and how the products can be bought in the market. And in at the same point of time, for the production process which is necessary, the money structure, that is a financial thing which will be given with the help of the banking. So when it comes to this, was about the production sector or the productive service given on the basis of production. So when we come to the consumer service, so what does a consumer needs? Consumer needs some kind of knowledge to buy or the sell things. At the same point of time, what is necessary? The health is very much necessary. So the education and health comes under the consumer service. Okay, at the same point of time, there is a segregation. As told earlier, tertiary sector is called as the backbone of socio-economic development. So how does the economy increases? That comes under the service sector. How the economy develops, how the economy grows. So at the same point of time, what kind of services comes under economy? The trading, the transportation, the communication, insurance, banking, power, and irrigation, which helps in the production process, which even helps in the development of the economy. At the same point of time, what is social service? Giving the national security or giving some kind of security to the end people or to the end customers. So under this service, it comes the education, health, housing. These kinds of service comes under the social service, so which helps the consumers or which helps the public in return. Okay, so this was about the services or the segregation or the division of the services which done under the, maybe when it comes to production or the consumer service, or when it comes to the socio-economic development. Okay, so now we'll study the importance of services. How the services implies or how services helps the end people or to the public or even to the other sectors of the economy. So the first thing is a contribution of national income. So first we will know what does national income mean. It is the total income of our whole nation. Okay, that is about the national income. And later on, how this contribution is given to the national income with the help of this service sector. What happens? At in present, service sector is called as the largest sector in the Indian economy. So when we compare the current scenario with the earlier scenario, what happened? Agriculture was told as the one of the largest sector in the economy. But nowadays, in the current situation, what is happening, that is, the service sector is called as the greatest or the largest sector. Why? Because it provides all the services to other sectors, it helps everything to the other sectors and even to the end consumers or the public. So with the increase in GDP, it is compared to the the primary and secondary sector. Now what does this GDP mean? GDP is a production which is happening in a year, that is any kind of specified year, so I have taken a year. So yeah, what happens when we compare to the sectors in the year 1950 to 51, which was the highest sector in the economy or the largest sector of the economy? That was the primary sector or the agricultural sector. So when we compare to the current scenario, so I have taken 2016 and 17. So when we take up into consideration in the current situation, which is the largest sector, tertiary sector is considered as the largest sector according or based upon the GDP. GDP is the gross domestic product, which is based upon the production process of the whole nation. So based upon this, currently which is the thing, service sector gives more and more income to the end people. So because of this, what happened, the service sector contributes high to the national income. Okay, and the second one is contribution to employment. Okay, when we come to employment, what happens, there are n number of employment under the service sector. So what kind of employment? Maybe when it comes to the transportation, you need drivers, you need conductors, you need cleaners, or any maintenance person. And even when you come to education, what happens, you need teachers, you need all the structural facility to happen in a good way. And even when you come to insurance or banking or financial sector, what happens, when the sectors are situated, more and more employment opportunities increases. So what happens, currently 33 percentage of labor force are indulged in this service sector. That when we compare to our nation India, what happens, 33 percentage of the labor force are employed in this service sector. And even we can tell that the direct form of work and even the indirect form of work. The direct form of work will be under the transportation system, the banking, the business, or the marketing facilities. And when we come to the indirect facilities, it is kind of the knowledge giving or treating any kinds of person, maybe with the help of doctor, the lawyer, the teachers. What do? They give knowledge to people, they help people in a better way. So by this, what happens, the employment opportunities or the service sector helps in improving or increasing the employment opportunities. Okay, now the next thing is the development of primary and secondary sector. So what is necessary for primary and secondary sector? Main thing, the infrastructure. What kinds of infrastructure? Maybe the roads, maybe the dams, or maybe any kinds of irrigation facility. All the necessary things is very much important for the primary and secondary sector. And even the transportation facility is also necessary to transport your goods from the source to the destination or to your goal. And even what happened, where you move the goods or the raw materials from one place to another. And even it is necessary for what happens when you travel or when you move goods from one place to another. It is not necessary that the goods will end or it will reach the destination. So at that particular point of time, which thing or which service helps here, the insurance service helps in transporting the goods, where it gives the financial security for the goods which is being transported. So by this, what happens, the development of primary and secondary sector will increase, which is one of the positive thing for our economy. And even the next thing, high standard of living. So what happens, as told earlier, the national income of our economy increases or the contribution is been made. So at that particular point of time, what happens, when the income increases of the individual, at the same point of time the national income will also increase. By this, it is also very much necessary that the standard of living of the individual will also increase. Even when we come to the development of the economy, and even when we come to the national income of the economy, what happens? The standard of living increases because of good infrastructure, because of good societal aspects, and even what happens, increase in the efficiency or the ability of the person. What happens when the person is knowledgeable, when he knows, when he is skilled, what happens, automatically the economy will develop, or his own area or the society will develop. So by this, what happens, the standard of living of the people will also increase. And the next one is reduction in the regional disparities. Regional disparities means the regional imbalances, or there is no proper balance in the regional. So how does it reduces the regional disparities? So first thing, what happens, there will be no inequality in the growth of the our economy. So what happens, only one particular place or only one particular area is not concentrated during the development. All the economy or overall area or overall society is been concentrated during the developmental process. And even what happens, the expansion of any kinds of area or the expansion of any kinds of sectors, maybe what happens, when the industrial sector expands, what happens, the development process also expands. In the same way, when the service sector expands, so I will give you an example. What happens, in one of the interior places, there is no transportation facility, there is no electricity facility. So when the government or any kinds of panchayat people come to know about this, or when they do all the necessary facilities, or when they give all the necessary facilities to such kind of places, what happens, the regional disparities will decrease to the greater extent. And even for all the backward areas, what happens, nowadays there is a kind of development, or there is a kind of growth where all the necessary facilities or all the necessary things, maybe when it comes to water facility, maybe when it comes to electricity facility, maybe when it comes to transportation, everything is been provided by the government. So by this, what happens, the regional disparities or the inequality things will reduce. And the next thing is rural development. As told earlier, what happens when there are no any facilities in the interior places or any backward places, what happens, this service sector helps in a positive thing. And how does it helps to the village areas or the rural areas? By giving them the facilities of the transportation, maybe the power facility, that is the electricity facility, maybe by giving some sort of education, and even the water facility, and even asking the people to have a good sanitation, so which increases the health facility also, which helps the rural development, or which develops the village area to become the cities, or which helps the rural area to become a better place to live in. So by this, what happens, service sector helps the rural development. So these are the six importance of the service sector, which helps all the sectors in the economy. Okay, now the next topic is about the interdependence among the various sectors. Interdependence may be when it comes to primary sector to service, and even the industrial sector to the service sector. So first we'll go on through the interdependence between agricultural sector and the service sector. Okay, so first let's see how agriculture helps the service sector. How will agriculture help? Agriculture will provide the food grains or the raw materials to the service sector, so that the service sector people or the people who work under service sector will consume that and have a healthy life. And at the same point of time, what happens, it even increases the demand in rural areas. How the agriculture people need the education, or they even need the medical facility. So at this particular point of time, what happens, even the agricultural people helps the service sector in giving the labor force, or even giving the people necessary to that particular sector. By this, what happens, agriculture helps the service sector. And when we come to the vice versa thing, that is the service sector, how does service sector helps the agricultural sector? First thing is the transportation and insurance thing. What happens, the raw materials or any finished product should be transported from one place to another. So for this particular process, what happens, service sector helps. So even during the transportation process, insurance facility helps. And even during the trading process, maybe the buying and selling of things, what happens, the service sector helps the agricultural sector in all the necessary ways. And even what does this service sector helps in return, the service sector, because of the education and because of the health facilities given, what happens, the skilled and unskilled labor are being segregated, or the labors are being differentiated based upon the efficiency and based upon the skill they have, they are being segregated, and the work process is given based upon that. So with the help of service sector, what happens, all the necessary, maybe when it comes to all the sectors, that is primary, secondary, tertiary, education or being knowledgeable is one of the most important thing. So service sector helps the agricultural sector in doing all these necessary things. Okay, so the next sector, the interdependence between is the industrial and the service sector. So let's see how industry helps service and service sector helps the industrial sector. So the first thing, how industry depends upon service sector. Okay, so how industry depends, the industry depends for the transportation, the banking and financial. How is these things necessary for the industrial sector, as told in agricultural sector, for the products to be transported from one place to another, it is very much necessary for the service sector to help the industrial sector. So for this particular process, what happens, the industry will depend upon the service sector. And later on, how the service sector depends on industrial sector. What happens for the service sector, even to be a knowledgeable, you need some place, you need to construct a place, you need to have desk, bench. At the same point of time, you need to have all the necessary equipments, maybe computers, maybe any kinds of printer and even paper. So who will give all these things? These things will be produced in industries, and later this will be sold, or this will be given to the service sector. By this, the service sector depends upon industry, or by this industry helps upon the service sector. So when you tell all the sectors goes hand in hand. Maybe when it comes to agriculture, industry and service, what happens, without one sector another sector is not important, or another sector cannot work on. So each and every sector in the economy has its own importance, and each sector in the economy is very important to be interconnected to each other. Thank you, students.